All right, we are live. Welcome to the first episode of Couch Coaches United. Really excited to bring this new show to you guys. We will be live every week with the most recent up-to-date hockey news, just with some news and some opinions uh, from both me and my counterpart, Tim. So we are gonna get going. I know Tim is super amped up to get going because his Team USA won the Worlds today. But we will get to the Worlds shortly. We're gonna start with the
Oh,
boys.
okay.
The
All right, all right,
boys.
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. 6-1 W today. I know.
So
Yep.
we're gonna so yeah, the West Final. I am over the fucking moon right now. No. Um and yeah, there's a lot to break down. So as you mentioned, 6-1. Big W today. What were your thoughts on the game today, Tim? And just the series in general.
I mean, game one, as an Oilers fan, you couldn't have felt that good, giving up 5 goals in the third period. But besides that, Edmonton has absolutely dominated this series.
I would even argue that
And
I would even argue with you that there's been 9 periods of hockey between the Oilers and Stars, and I would make the argument that we've been the better team for 8 of those periods.
yes, absolutely. Especially today proved it. Today, you saw in the pictures of game one when Edmonton went down in the third period, Draisaitl and McDavid looked at each other on the bench and were just like, oh, fuck. Like, we need to lock in. And ever since then, Edmonton has by far been the better team. And if you want to break down a couple of those goals, we can right now as fucking couch coaches.
Yeah, I mean we definitely can. There is something I just wanted to bring up because I know it's a hot topic right now. The nurse slash on Hints in game 2.
Yeah.
Um, so as an Oilers fan, I mean, I'm reasonable. I'm not like those Oilers fans that, you know, the Oilers can do no wrong, all that kind of stuff. Um, Nurse got it was originally a 5-minute major. Uh, the refs reviewed it,
Yep.
dropped it down to a 2. Hintz obviously in pain, um, and
Mm-hmm.
left the game injured. Took warm-ups today for game 3, but did not end up playing. Pete DeBoer said after the game that Hintz is not close. But basically with that slash, could it have been a 5? Yes. Should it have been a 5? Probably. Um,
Yeah.
especially seeing as the fact that, I was a little optimistic today when there was news that broke that Hintz was probably going to play today. And I was like, okay, well, was that just kind of a ploy from Dallas to try to fake an injury and get a 5-minute power play, seeing as you saw what happened in game 1 where they scored 3 power play goals in 5 minutes. Um, but it sounds like Hintz is actually
Exactly.
hurt. So at this point, maybe a 5-minute would have been justified.
I don't know if I would go as far to say that it shouldn't have been a 5 minute, but when you see that he was able to be in warm ups today, that completely eliminates any justification for a suspension. And also, how often do you see that kind of play? Like, not like it was egregious, like it was a slash to the foot. And the main reaction was because he had to be helped off the ice like so bad.
Well, and
Which
I mean, you
again,
heard
with the warm ups, then obviously it couldn't have been that serious.
Well, and you mean you heard Pete DeBoer. I think everyone's heard Pete DeBoer after the game in Dallas there. They asked him about Hintz's injury, and he just said, I'll answer your question with a question. Do any of us in this room think that if that was Connor McDavid being carried off, that wouldn't have been a 5-minute major? And I
Exactly.
mean, you got to think he's right. Like, I mean, you got McDavid, who's arguably one of the poster boys of the league. Um,
Yeah,
going down with a dirty slash, like that's a 5 minute major if that happens all day. So I mean, I'm not going to disagree with DeBoer on that, but um, it would almost be justified to say that you know Hintz was the one. Like if you watch that replay of that slash, Hintz gave Nurse a pretty hefty cross check to the
he
back.
was in it. He
Yeah, and
initiated it.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
mean, so that kind of brings back the whole thing where it's like, you don't want to get hurt, don't start shit, right?
yeah, like yeah. Hens gave him a nice cross check to the back, and Nurse just retaliated. And what do you get told all the time growing up and in hockey?
Stick
You
up for
always
yourself.
get caught on the
Yeah, you
yeah,
got to do
stick
it.
up for yourself, but you always get caught on the retaliation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean at the same time, like I don't like, I think if Nurse would have just sat around and did nothing, like if he just sat there and allowed Hintz to cross check him and he did nothing, Hintz would have gave him another cross check to the back and then another one, and I think Nurse would have snapped anyways. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fully. Being a defenseman, if someone cross checks me in the back in front of my own net, yeah, you're not getting away with it.
yeah,
I don't care
exactly,
if I'm going. But I
exactly.
do agree that at that point it should have been a 5 minute major. I think they made the right call on the 5 minute major initially, but for people saying it should have been a suspension, no, no, we're not going that far.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think it would have been. And I mean, you got to think that, if it was a 5 minute major, um, that could have changed the game on how game two went because Oilers are up 3-0 when that slash happened.
Absolutely.
You get a 5 minute power play, Dallas scores one goal, they still get a power play, right? Like time doesn't stop on a 5 minute power play if you score a goal, right?
Yeah.
Like you're on a power play that whole 5 minutes. So, um, you score one goal and then you score another, all of a sudden it's 3-2. Dallas has momentum. Like that could have changed the game drastically. So I don't really blame DeBoer for being pissed and the rest of the Stars team for being upset about that. But especially now your number one center
And
goes
it's
down.
also Edmonton. Yeah, and it's also Edmonton being on the penalty kill with Nurse in the box. I believe he's on
He's
Edmonton's
he's
penalty
on the
kill.
top PK, yeah. Yeah. So
So that's a huge factor right there.
mhm. Yeah. So I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about there goes my helmet. A lot of mixed opinions about the splash and everything, but um, I think it was just nice to air that kind of dirty laundry and kind of say what we thought about it. But in other words, though, like I mean, it's one quick stat, or I mean, I guess two quick stats about the Oilers and Stars series. I know I mentioned this one to you earlier today, but so game three, Dallas scored a goal. They were down, I think it was 2-0 Edmonton at that point. And Dallas scored a goal with like 4 minutes left in the second period. That was the first road goal that Dallas scored in the playoffs since game one versus the Jets in the second round. They played game two in Winnipeg, lost 4-0. They played game five in Winnipeg, lost 4-0. And then they played the whole third period of game one in Winnipeg with no goals and the whole first period in Edmonton with no goals and almost all of the second period with no goals. So they went 178 minutes and 57 seconds with no goal on the road in the playoffs. That's 8 periods, almost like a minute shy of 9 periods. That's three hockey games. I mean, you got to think the Stars are going
That
to.
just shows you how. Go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
just going to say, it just shows that, the Stars are not going to win a series when they can't score on the road. They always say a hockey series doesn't start until the away team wins a game. Oilers have done
Yep.
that. Stars
Yep.
haven't yet.
Yep. Yeah. And the Oilers, I mean, I think if they win the next game and they go up 3-1, uh, they're in a lot of trouble. I
Yeah,
don't see
and
this going.
And I mean, you look at the goalies too in the series. Like, as an Oilers fan, I'll be the first to admit that, even 3 weeks ago when we were 3, 4 weeks ago when we were still playing LA, Skinner was the whipping boy in the Oilers fan base. Like he was just getting
Yeah.
completely obliterated. I mean, he goes first 2 games against LA, and he lets in 12 goals in 2 games. And then Pickard
Yeah.
comes in, goes 6-0. Pickard gets hurt. Skinner has no choice but to come back in. And then he lets in 4 goals against Vegas, including that one that went in with zero point 0.4 seconds left. So then Skinner's 0-3. He's got a save percentage of like 0.870 or something god awful like that. And at that point I was just like, Oilers are cooked. Like we're never going to win this with Skinner. And then Skinner goes on, rattles off 2 straight shutouts against Vegas. Um, he has
Yeah.
that one-off game against Dallas where the whole team broke down and Dallas scored 3 power play goals, and then all Oilers fans were like, "Oh, Skinner sucks again." Then he got a shutout. Then he played today, and made 36 saves,
Goal.
1 goal on 37 shots. So
One
if you
goal.
take if
That's it.
and if you take away that third period against Dallas where they scored 5 goals, 4 of them were on Skinner, one was an empty net. But if you take away that first period where Skinner let in those 4 goals in the third period of game one, Skinner's let in 2 goals since then. Ottinger's let in 12. And even with the third period, Skinner's
Yeah.
let in 6 goals, Ottinger's let in 12.
And
Like who would
let's be honest right here. Skinner isn't necessarily a high end goalie. Ottinger
is
is up for the
considered one
running USA in the Olympics next year.
for sure.
Like Ottinger is one of the elite goalies in the NHL right now,
For
and he
sure.
is not like that. Right, he got lit up today.
For sure. And I mean, like, did anyone think going into this series in a Stuart Skinner versus Jake Ottinger battle that Skinner would be winning the battle as much as he is right now?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, you would be thinking, all right, Dallas, if they're winning the series, that's no shame on Edmonton, but you would most likely assume that the main pinpoint of the blame would be on Skinner.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, like that's huge. And you look at Skinner too, like he's tied for shutouts in the playoffs with Sergei Bobrovsky with 3. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
his save percentage is like 0.892 still, even with the 3
The
shutouts
only
in the game
category
2.
that you guys have a top five goalie in the playoffs is in shutouts.
Yeah,
Skinner is not in the top five in goalies for goals against or save percentage.
yeah, like, and
The
that's why
last, yeah, yeah,
insane. And before today, there was a stat that said Stuart Skinner has either posted a shutout in the playoffs or no game higher than 0.830 save percentage, and there's nothing in between. That
yeah,
obviously got
that,
broken today,
yeah,
but like, how wild of a stat is that?
yeah. And also, McDavid had a breakout game today.
For sure. And you can tell McDavid's hungry. He wants to get back into the finals for sure.
2 goals today. I think that might have been the best game that he's played in this playoffs because
Yeah,
you could argue that he hasn't necessarily been the guy this playoff so far.
absolutely.
Draisaitl has definitely carried this team a lot and this season, if you look at stats. And people are like, oh yeah, he had a low year. He still had 100 fucking points. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's crazy to think that a down year by McDavid is 100 points. Like,
Yeah.
goes to show, you know what I mean? Like, Draisaitl finished with like 106 or something like that, and people still, you know, they don't say Draisaitl had a down year, but McDavid had one with 100 points. Um, now
yeah.
Now, kind of shifting gears here, we go from one series where the Oilers won 6-1 on Sunday afternoon, but in the Eastern Conference Finals, 6-1 seems to be a pretty regular score. Carolina's just
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
pounded.
Oh
Like,
my God, this series is done. And wait, we're gonna see Carolina get swept again, and then Brenda Moore's gonna be on the podium again and say, "Well, we really didn't get swept for the
yeah,
second time in a row."
absolutely. And the crazy
And
part about this whole thing is like, assuming Florida wins on Tuesday on Monday, which pretty good chance they do.
you know,
They're at home coming off a 6-1
I
victory. Um, Carolina will have been swept in the East Final for the fourth time since they've been in the finals. That's
4 times in a row since they
0
won
and
a cup, and
16 in their last Eastern, like that, like wild. And that's all I think coached by Brindamore too, I think.
well, no, the first time they were swept in the conference finals, Brenda Moore was playing his last season
Oh,
as a
and Paul Maurice
player.
was the coach, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And Palmer had to like give him a little black ace and was like, "Yeah, you're done."
yeah,
So Brindamore player swept after. Granted, he did bring Carolina a cup as a captain. You can't take
absolutely.
that away from him. He did do that, but then swept in the conference finals as a player, retires, swept 3 times in a row in the conference finals as a coach. Kind of time for Brindamore to go, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like you look at the you look at the game that was on Saturday night between the two, like it looks like Carolina and Florida are in two different leagues. Like you look at the teams
Boys versus men.
and I mean like you think like New Jersey and Washington lost to Carolina, but it's just like how would either of those two teams fared against Florida? Like you got to think that New Jersey or Washington would have put up a way better fight against Florida than what Carolina's doing.
Yeah, what they're doing now is like Carolina, and you would think going into it, okay, Washington, they were good. Carolina, they're good. I would put those two up close to a battle with Florida. New Jersey was obviously the underdog. Like they weren't doing anything. There's no, you couldn't convince me that they're going to the conference finals this year, one bit.
Yeah.
But it was between Washington and Carolina. And Washington, I just think, looked extremely old as a team.
Old and
Good team.
I think Washington's time ran out. They had an unreal season. No one really expected them to have the season they did. And at some
Yeah,
point, it's just like, how far can this Capitals team go? And I think they just ran out of gas. They're old. Ovechkin's almost 40 years old.
yeah. And you had the whole Ovechkin chase in the goal record. So that was a
Right.
distraction as a team.
Right. Yeah.
Like that was in that everything. But Carolina, I didn't expect Carolina to beat Florida, but I didn't expect it to be this drastic of
Yeah.
a defeat.
I mean,
Like
and you look
or
at some of the.
overall,
Go ahead,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say
Um,
you look at the goals too that Florida's scoring. Like there's breakdown after breakdown after breakdown for the Hurricanes. Like I know
yeah,
you have a board there with you, but maybe just take us through like even that goal that went up three that made Florida go up 3-1. I think Boquist scored it. Um, take us through like the breakdown of what happened to the Carolina and what you would do differently.
okay, here we go. Couch is corn. Um, so what makes this goal so special is it all starts from the foot. Can you see this here?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. It all starts from behind Florida's net here with McCullough, the defenseman. He ships the puck up here. Verhaeghe's on the wing here. He chips it off the boards, and Kachuk and Bennett are both going. They do a little crisscross. Kachuk picks up the puck, chips it to Bennett, and Bennett comes in, hangs out right around here a bit. If you watch the replay, he kind of like drags a bit right in here because they're going down on a 3-on-2 on Carolina. Kachuk goes up on the wing. You're thinking maybe Bennett would immediately pass the puck to Kachuk in this play, for instance. You would think you want to get Kachuk the puck so he can take the shot. What ends up happening is a defenseman that started this entire play goes all the way up the ice to here with Bennett hanging around here for a bit. Both defense are fucking distracted on Kachuk and Bennett. He dishes it over to McCullough, who gets the goal, and McCullough just fucking snipes it. It's hockey IQ. It's strong hockey IQ at its finest. And you can see the same thing on the 6-1 goal. And it's just goal after goal after goal where Florida is just bullying Carolina at this point. On the 6-1 goal, there's a loose puck right here. Boqvist picks up the puck and immediately sends it to Lindell, who's right here. And Marchand starts off here in the replay, and he knows he's going to be close to being offsides on with Lindell. So he kind of goes off and drifts and creates time and space, draws the defenseman, where the defenseman, who's Shane Gostisbehere, has no clue really what to do, because as a defenseman, you want to take the pass away and give the goalie the shot.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
Lindell is coming down with the shot, and Gostisbehere does his best where he slides at an angle this way, where he's taken away the passing lane and he's taken away space for Lindell. But Marchand still sneaks in there, and they can still get the pass across and then the goal. It's just strong hockey IQ right now. And that's what's going to create Florida. They're on the verge of winning another cup. I
Absolutely.
think they really are on the verge of winning another cup.
And I mean, as an Oilers fan too, like I mean, I think it's safe to say at this point, Florida is going to be in the finals. Um, as an Oilers fan, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, this team keeps proving me wrong because I didn't think we stood a chance against LA. I didn't think we stood a chance against Vegas. I was nervous to play Dallas, but I mean, you got to
Yeah.
think, you know, Edmonton versus Florida could be interesting because Florida is going to want to repeat, and they're like Florida's up here in the hockey world right now. Like they're just the team to beat,
Oh, yeah.
like unreal structure, unreal system, everything. But then you got the Oilers coming up, and you got McDavid and Draisaitl, who just lost in 7 games last year to the same team. Who, if there's
Yeah.
two guys in this league that are hungry for a cup, it's McDavid and Draisaitl.
It's them. It's absolutely them. Yeah.
And the way the Oilers are playing right now, too, like, you know, are they strong enough to
They
take down
deserve a
Florida?
cup. They deserve a cup. It's understandable. It takes a lot to get a cup. Those two guys deserve to win that cup.
For sure. And I mean, it's
Florida,
going to be
like
interesting too.
you think of it like Florida, they go to the finals again. That's 3 finals in a row for Florida. Tampa won back-to-back cups
Five
and
straight
lost.
years that a Florida team is in the finals. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I mean, like we're gonna get into probably, you know, more about it next week when probably both third round series are over, and we're looking at a Stanley Cup final
Yep.
between probably Florida and Edmonton. But I mean, you never know. It's only 2-1 in the Western Conference final. Anything can happen. We'll know more probably on Tuesday night after game 5. But before we take off for the first episode, why don't you take us through, Tim? You're wearing your jersey. Take us through Team USA's first world championship in 92 years.
Cheers to that, motherfucker.
92 years. You know
Man,
what? That calls for I'm
I
gonna
didn't even.
drink for you guys right now because that calls for a celebration. 92 years. Not every team can be like Canada and win it every fucking year. So
I didn't even know that the World Championships went on for 92 years. When I saw it first time since 1933, I didn't even know that was a thing back
I
then.
I didn't even know that was a thing either.
Well, I
But
mean, it's the World Championships. It's a big deal, obviously, because there are NHL players that are involved. But is it best on best? No, it is not.
no.
So, it like, did Canada still have McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and Fleury in that? Yes, but also I think it was just a big stepping point for USA hockey because like, I don't think you can deny in the last 20 years hockey in America has grown significantly,
Well, and I
and
mean,
I think
you know, you and I talked about it a little bit before we went live here, but USA, you know, all of us know what happened in August of 2024, that tragic accident with the Gaudreau brothers. And you know,
yeah,
you got to think that, you know, obviously Johnny Gaudreau would have been on the team if he was still with us,
absolutely.
but you got to think that, you know,
I
going
mean,
into the World Championship.
Columbus didn't make the playoffs. Columbus didn't make the playoffs, so he would have been on that team.
Exactly. And I mean, you look at, you know, knowing that he would have been on the team, you got to think that the players on the American team had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder wanting to do this for Johnny. And not only that, but on Memorial Day weekend, two of all weekends, just a pretty special moment. And I know you mentioned that when they lifted the trophy, they had Gaudreau's jersey on there. It was just a really wholesome moment. And you know, as a Canadian, um, you know, we have our rivalry. Obviously, you know, I hate seeing USA win in a international hockey championship when hockey is very clearly Canada's game. But whether you're Canadian or American or Swedish or whatever nationality you're from, you know, that moment right there is something that just as a hockey fan in general, you just need to appreciate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a tragedy and an avoidable tragedy,
Yeah,
which is what's most.
yeah,
Um, in every international tournament that USA has participated in since that has had Goudreau's jersey in the locker room. So it's just a touching moment.
for sure.
Um, yeah. It was also impressive to see that for the second international tournament in a row, the champion beat a team that beat them in the round robin.
Yeah,
Four Nations Cup. USA beat Canada in the round robin. Canada beats USA in the championship. World Championship. Swiss beat USA 3-0 in the round robin.
for sure.
USA beat Swiss 1-0 in the
And
championship.
and how
And
about
I think for
Switzerland?
women, what
I was just gonna say, how about Switzerland too? Like, um, you know, coming
they
into the World
showed up.
Championship, winning silver.
Yeah, like they showed up. Like they beat a lot of good teams. And then the other team was Denmark. I
Denmark
didn't expect Denmark to
beating
take out
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, two to
Well,
one. Like you hold McKinnon and Crosby to one goal.
for sure. Well, you know, there's obviously a lot to talk about, but we're gonna get into that next week, because we're about out of time here. But I think it's a pretty good first episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed Couch Coaches United. And we'll be back next week to give you a lot more analysis.
Yep. And we got Florida, Carolina tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time.